right, 9 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Samuel Shem is on the phone. He's got a book called Man's Fourth Best Hospital, but it is number 1 on Amazon under the new release category of medical fiction. This is the sequel to The House of God, which apparently was a huge book. Years after the events of The House of God, the Fat Man has been given leadership over a new future of medicine clinic at what is now only man's 4th best hospital. Okay, so that's what it says in the opening line on Amazon.
Great book.
Let's find out. Let's see, it says Samuel Shem. You told me to call him Shem.
Yes.
By his last name?
Ari said we
He's
could.
a humorist, an award-winning playwright, and an award-winning novelist, and a member of the Harvard Medical School faculty. Good morning, Shem. Oh my gosh, you probably didn't hear any of that intro because I didn't have the button pushed. Good morning, Shem.
Hello. One correction. For 5 years, I've been a refugee from the Harvard Medical School system. Now I'm a professor of medicine at NYU Medical School.
Oh,
nice.
Right there in Greenwich Village. Is that where you are?
I'm in NYU now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for being on our station. And so, how are you doing?
I am so great, and the fact that you like the book makes me greater. I'm not going to be able to talk. My head's going to be.
Well, we're not the only ones who like it. You're doing really well on the numbers on Amazon, so that's got to be exciting.
I didn't know that. I just heard it. That is absolutely terrific for me. I put my heart. I wrote. I'm old now, and I was on fire writing this book. On fire.
Okay, and tell us about the story. This is a continuation of a previous book?
Yeah, 40 years ago, if you can believe it, I wrote The House of God, which was based on the Beth Israel Hospital in Boston, and to my surprise, it sold almost 3 million copies. It sells more copies than ever now. In lines, when people want me to sign their book, it used to be, I'm a medical student, I want you to sign it. Then a person would come up and say, my mother told me to about this book, and I'd sign it. And now I get, my grandfather told me about it. Getting so old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because you took so long between books. That's what happened there.
Long story, but I've written like 6 or 7 other novels, plays, etc. But let's talk about Man's Fourth, eh?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So why is it the 4th?
Well, as it says in the book, it was, in the book it says that the ratings of hospitals by a tabloid magazine called U.S. News and World Report rates hospitals, and Man's 4th best hospital had always been Man's 1st, but then suddenly it went down to Man's 4th. It's a WASP hospital, and it says in the book, and one of the WASP board members became depressed, right?
And what is WASP?
And they ask, and in order to get them back in their prestige and money, they bring back the main character from The Fat Man, called The Fat Man, to try to raise it in prestige and money. And the Fat Man comes in and brings his old crew from the House of God in, all those interns, to found a clinic that he can show, a public clinic that leans up against this huge hospital to bring up their rating. And what he wants to do is key, and what I want to do is put the human back into medicine. Put the human back into medicine.
And why? Okay, if I can only use my own experiences as a way to relate to what you just said, it seems like the human is still there in the nurses. It's the doctors that seem to be too busy to talk.
That's very interesting. I hadn't heard that before, but you're right. And you know why? Because doctors spend an average of 60% of their time in their computer screens. Nurses don't spend nearly as much time, although they too are not doing well now, actually, because they do have to spend some time. And the book, I'll just frame it. The way that I got to write this book is suddenly, after being out of medicine, I was offered by NYU to be a professor there to teach the House of God. Harvard hated me for it, and they brought me in for it. And what I saw were the miracles of modern medicine on the one hand. On the other hand, I saw the curse of modern medicine. Now, the real problem, which is money and screens, which means money and money, because what the public does not know, that I am revealing, is that the reason your doctor is not looking at you but looking into his screen is because he is being forced to bill. It's a billing machine, a money-making machine, a cash register, and he is forced to, he's in a war across that machine. He's trying to bill the most for a procedure, and the insurance company on the other side of the screen is trying to pay the least. It's a war about...
Yeah, that's true. So you chose a novel, a fictional story, to make a political point?
Yeah. Well, to describe what's going on,
okay.
Yeah, and hope to change things, yeah.
And you also are a humorist.
Yeah, I mean, what I've been so lucky. Right now I feel so lucky. When I got set to write The House of God 40-some years ago, I realized it was so awful what happened in medical training that it had to ride on humor or nobody could read it. And now I had the same feeling like, hey, wait a second. This system is so awful, and how it affects doctors, nurses, patients, affects patients too, is that it has to ride on humor. So over and over, even last night at an appearance here in Boston, a woman said, the thing that got me through my medical school was you're letting me laugh at how horrible it was. And I hope that this can be part of the discussion in the 2020 election. And what are the two most important issues in the election coming up? Healthcare and healthcare.
Exactly.
I didn't know what the second one. Yeah, healthcare, obviously. Yeah, and it is interesting. So, what is your thought on that as far as politically speaking? Do you go along with the idea of we all pay our own? I guess that's the way it's always been, or the government pays for our care?
I know what to do, okay? And the book shows what to do, and I've even come more in my thinking. I'll be very brief. The issue in American healthcare is that the computers that your doctor is into, that's killing them and hurting care, are fighting the insurance company, as I said, for money. So as the fat man says at the end of the book, we have to squeeze the money out of the machines, right? So what we have to do is unlink the payments to private insurance companies for procedures, which is what the thing is called. We have to unlink the billing from the procedure, from the data. We have to unlink the billing from the data that people are clicking in. So, for example, the doctor in the hospital will click on a button that says appendectomy, okay, taking the appendix out. That's the same all over a national nonprofit system, whatever it is, Medicare, Obamacare. He clicks once to say for the national payment for that thing. Then we have a private insurance industry, and they can still be there, but they can't bill through the screen that your doctor has to be at. 60% of his. They bill separately.
Well,
wow.
Shem, it sounds like you figured something out that our elected or our candidates haven't. I hope they read your book.
They don't know this. This argument, do you have to get rid of private insurance? No. Let me be simple. Medicare for all, they offer, or some kind of national program. They have the supplemental private insurance going along, but there's no for-profit billing in the non-profit Medicare. So doctors are free. All they do is
gosh.
deal with, and the onus is on the private insurance company to figure out how to get more money out of them. But we doctors don't. It's revolutionary.
I wish we had more time to talk. I definitely will be reading your book. Okay, let's see. I found it on Amazon. I see it's an audiobook, a hardcover, and a Kindle. Do you have a website you'd like to recommend?
mansfourthbesthospital.com, and the fourth is a numeral, mansfourthbesthospital.com.
Okay, excellent. Sam, thank you for what you're doing. I think you made more sense in 10 minutes than I've heard in all these this dialogue I've been hearing. Thank you, Shem. Thank you,
Have me
Shem.
on.
Again. Yeah, we will. That's a good idea. We'll do that. I think he's gone. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back.